Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for calling this hearing on this so-called investigation, which is an absolute mockery of the term. All the investigation was an attempt to browbeat ordinary citizens out of their constitutional rights and expressions of their constitutional right, including, of course, the First Amendment. It was an attempt to spy on members of Congress, including myself, who had our phones tapped. It's an absolute outrage that I hope will never happen again in American history. But I want to talk about another outrage today, if I could, that is very much in process, and that is the attempt by the American left to destroy the independence of the United States Supreme Court. We've had out of this court just in the last few days another series of leaks. I'm holding up here a page, a printout, this time the private papers of the justices. You might remember just a few years ago, somebody leaked an unpublished internal draft opinion for the first time in the history of the Supreme Court. Leaked it in an attempt to derail, it was the Dobbs decision, in an attempt to derail an opinion of the court. Now we have from the justices' personal private papers that by law belong to them. We have multiple leaks from February, from January of 2016, leaked to the press. Why? For the sin of the court's supposed failure to address the global climate crisis. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. That's what the New York Times tells us. The court has not managed the global climate crisis properly, and therefore, whomever it is at the Supreme Court who wants to destroy the independence of that body is now leaking the justices' own private papers. This is part of a coordinated attack on this institution that has gone on now for years. And the point of it is to destroy the independence of the Supreme Court, to browbeat that court into doing what the left in this country wants, and to hold up a clear threat to the court that if they don't, they will be packed with new justices, they will be personally threatened, their papers will be leaked, their security will be threatened, and in short, the left will do everything they can to destroy the court as an institution. I've worked at that court. I have litigated at that court as a private lawyer and as the Attorney General of the state of Missouri. And I can tell you what is happening now is absolutely a coordinated effort to destroy the court, and it has been years in the making. Years in the making. It goes all the way back to when President Obama stood in the well of the House of Representatives at the podium there and to the face of the justices browbeat and criticized them personally for a decision he didn't like. I've heard a lot of fussing from the other side of the aisle. They don't like how President Trump is critical of the court. Really? I don't remember a word when Barack Obama stood and looked at the justices and personally attacked them at a State of the Union address. But that was just the merest beginning. We have had since then an assassination attempt on the life of a justice, Brett Kavanaugh. We have had the current minority leader of the Senate go to the floor, to the steps rather of the Supreme Court, Chuck Schumer, go to the steps of the court and threaten the justices by name. By name. We've had a coordinated leak from within the court meant to derail the Dobbs opinion and to destroy it. We have had dark money groups, left-wing dark money groups, funding illegal protests at the justices' homes after an assassination attempt on the justices that the Biden Justice Department and FBI refused to stop, despite the fact they were illegal. For months, these illegal protests meant to threaten the security of the justices went on. Months and months and months, and the Biden Justice Department couldn't lift a finger. And I don't remember hardly a peep from the other side of the aisle. Oh no, this is a deliberate attempt to tell the court, do what we want you to do or we will destroy you. And this is just the latest attempt. I don't know what's going to be left. I mean, if the justices' private papers can be leaked, I'll give the Times credit. They're at least honest. They say they talked to, at least in addition to getting the private papers, 10 different individuals who were formerly employed at the court, who were familiar with deliberations over pivotal emergency orders and spoke on condition of anonymity. Why? Because, and I quote, confidentiality was a condition of their employment. In other words, multiple people from within the court who were delighted to violate their own employment agreements in order to put the private deliberations of the justices into view with the sole purpose of trying to destroy this institution's independence. I happen to believe in our system of government. I believe the three branches were designed for a reason. I believe the independence of the Supreme Court is vital. And I believe if you don't like decisions of that court, and there are plenty I disagree with, plenty, from Citizens United to many, many more, But you do not address those differences of opinion by trying to destroy the institutional legitimacy and independence of the court. And that is exactly what the American left is trying to do in a coordinated fashion. And I'll end with this, Mr. Chairman. We need to follow the money. Those protests at the justice's home that were designed to threaten their safety were funded by somebody. They were funded. I want to know who funded them. I want to know where the money from this pressure campaign, this multi-year pressure campaign, is coming from. We need to have hearings in this committee to unveil the sources of this funding, of this campaign, and of this attempt to undermine our system of government. It is a clear and present danger to the operation of our Constitution, Mr. Chairman. I yield.